Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Altcoin Mentors YouTube channel. My name is Peter, and today I'm going to be doing the technical analysis for our watch list. Our main goal here at Altcoin Mentors is to help as many people as possible achieve their goal of financial freedom, and we believe that trading cryptos is an opportunity of a lifetime. By the end of this video, you should have a better understanding of where our watch list is going in the near-term and long-term future. If you like our videos, please follow us on Twitter and on Telegram. We also have a model portfolio so you can view our positions and progress. The link is down below. If you'd like to be notified of our latest videos, please hit the bell button. Alright, so exciting news today. Today we're going to be adding 4 new coins to our watch list. I talked about these a little bit before. One is Zcoin. Next one is Chainlink, BitShares, and IX. So for BitShares and IX, I already mentioned these before because I took a small seed position in last week. I will go over the TA and we'll talk about why I decided to do that. But let's start with Bitcoin first. So Bitcoin on a long-term scale still looks relatively good. Because if you look at the weekly charts, you just see that it's just a ramp up, straight up here. So yes, it's difficult because even if you look at it from a year-to-year basis, from June, it was at 1800. Now it's at 700. So it still looks very, very positive. So what doesn't look so positive when you zoom in is the downward descent. So we have 3 consecutive lower lows on the weekly charts. But today we have a glimmer of hope because it looks like the bottom has bottomed out. So last week I talked about it, that we might be in a range between 7,700 and 6,900. I was pretty close. I was right about 7,700, a little bit off about the 6,900. The low here was about the 70.30. So for the last week and a half, it's been basically channeling, just been going sideways. So it's been very hard to make any money. But this could be a good thing, because if you zoom out, if this thing goes higher and passes 7,700, there's a very good chance of getting past 9,400 and maybe getting past 11.8. Because now what we have here is we have a higher high on a wave basis, a higher high than here, and we have a higher low. So this could turn into sort of a wedge. We'll see what happens. But if it goes a little bit higher and if it doesn't go down, then technically it should keep on continuing on a nice upward pace. Especially if we look at some of the smaller time frames here. You see that's been going sideways. So it's hard to call direction in a market that's just been going sideways for almost 2 weeks. But so far though, it looks pretty good because as it's going higher on a shorter time frame, what it's also doing is creating higher highs and higher lows. So Bitcoin for the near term looks pretty good, and for the very, very long term looks very good. And that's something that we can't always forget about. That's why I don't try to push hodlers too much, especially on Bitcoin. Because if you really believe in Bitcoin, right, and you really believe it's going to go up to $40,000, $50,000, and you've been holding it for a long time, since maybe 1,000 or 2,000, there's really no reason not to hold it for a long term. It might be better to position trade, but if you have a hard time pulling the trigger, if you have a hard time looking at charts, then there's nothing wrong with hodling if you're one of those people. But if you want to make a little bit of extra money, then position trading is better. Because it's not the idea that you could have gotten in at 10,000 and gotten back in at 7,000, right? The idea is that you might have gotten out at maybe like 9,000, even at 8,400. And right now you'd be waiting. So you might be able to get back in at around 8,000 to 8,400. You might say, well, I broke even. It's better than, the same thing as hodling. But the big difference though is from way before, is that if you went up to like 20,000, 19,000 before, at around 16,000, 11,000, anywhere along the line there, you could have gotten out and you could have actually used some more Bitcoin. So the interesting thing that I found out, the interesting thing about doing this the 2K 5X challenge is that I'm up nearly 70% in the last 5.5 weeks of trading Bitcoin, going long and short. But the interesting thing is that on a dollar scale, I am up 70%. But on a Bitcoin scale, I'm up 100%. Which means that I put in $2,000 into the account, and that bought me like a 0.21 Bitcoin. But that was when the price of Bitcoin was at 9,400. Now Bitcoin is down at 7,700. So even though I have 50% more Bitcoin, the value of my portfolio is up 70% when I have 100% more Bitcoin. But imagine what happens if Bitcoin goes up. If Bitcoin goes up higher and I'm long, I can go in more, right? And I'll be able to make more money than I did from before. And that's really the key. So let's talk about the Ether. So Ether still looks very positive, even on a daily scale. We have a higher high here. It made a nice run up, right, which was very good. It hit major support right here at 502. Made a nice bounce back, and it looks like it's going to continue to go a little bit higher, back up into the 780 would be my next target, and then past that would be 1300. So even on a shorter time scale here, it looks very, very good. Over here, I did re-enter at a better price over here as it bounced off of it, so it looks pretty good. Because if you look at it, it goes higher highs and higher lows. So you don't have to be a real technical genius to be able to understand that. I try to make my charts very simple. I don't use fib bands or sequences. I don't try to draw trend lines because those can break all the time. I believe in support and resistance and basically just waves. And right now the waves here for Ether telling me that it's going a little bit higher. So let's look at the EOS. EOS is something that has been very interesting because it hit an all-time high before, up all the way at the top, started coming back down. But on a longer term scale, even though it hasn't been around for a long time, on a long-term scale, it still looks very, very positive, right, if you look at it. So even if you look at it on a weekly scale, look at this chart, right? So we have a higher high here, higher low, higher high, and this might be the makings of a higher low, right? So we have a color change on the weeklies, so it looks like it's going to go a little bit higher. And then so on the short term, you see it hit support at 12.1, it went below it, stayed around there for a long time, right here, right? Stayed along there for a long time. And if it can pass this little point of 15.4, it has a very good chance of going back up to 18.3. So if I was long here, that would be my target, 18.3. Talk about Monero. So Monero doesn't look as good as some of the other ones, but I'm charting it though because I do like the crypto in general. So on a weekly scale, if you look at it, it doesn't look good, right? Because we have higher lows. So even on, if you zoom in on the dailies, right, look at that chart, right? It looks pretty bad. So it hit support at 148. It did take a nice little bounce back up. But here, I'm not really touching Monero for a while. I'd like to see it create some more higher highs on a longer term scale. But I am watching it. Let's look at Icon. So Icon on a weekly basis, right? There isn't that much. So you have to really look at the dailies. And here, it looks okay. It looks like it's going a little bit sideways. I'd rather just wait on this a little bit longer because wait for a new pattern. Because right now the pattern is very, very choppy. Enigma is something that I've been looking at. The only thing that scares me about Enigma is that this wick here, this wick here, this wick here. So I don't know what's going on with the exchanges or if it's just Enigma in general. But trading at a level like this would have really pissed me off. If I bought here off the bounce and then it came and it took me all the way down and it filled me on a stop market, I was protecting myself somewhere around here, that would have been really upsetting and I might not trade it anymore, just like I did with Ripple. So because of that, this is something to watch, but the charts actually looked very decent, especially if you look at it on a shorter time frame. Looks like it's going higher. The next level here would be 225, and past that would be $3. So let's look at one of the ones I've been holding now. It's ZRX. So ZRX is one that I like. The long term, there isn't that much of a long term. The dailies, but if you look at the dailies though, you see how it's going higher. Right, so we have an all-time high here from where it first began, but it's actually very, very close. So it came down quite a bit, but it looks like it's going to go back up in my opinion. So right now it's been channeling for a while. So if you look at this range here, right? So it bounced off of major support here at the end of May. It hit 145, which is resistance. Did the same thing over here. So at the very least, I think it'll go up to 145. And if it does, I might take some profits up there because I'm scaling in, scaling out. But I just take a small seed position just in case it can go back up to 206 and maybe a little bit further out. But 206 seems to be the high. But if it breaks, who knows where it can go. Look at Zcash, Zcoin, sorry. So Zcoin is something that I'm looking at because it looks fairly cheap. But just because it looks cheap doesn't mean I'm going to go in. I'm just keeping an eye on it to see what happens. But right now, it looks pretty ugly. And so if you look at it even on a daily scale, it looks pretty ugly. It's going down, down, down. People say, well, it's at the lows. Yes, but there's a reason. So it's just about like real estate. In real estate, people talk about location, location, location. That's all they care about, right? So it doesn't matter whether it's cheap. So like you can buy a house in Detroit for $50,000, right? Or you can buy a studio in New York City for $1 million, right? So you can't say, oh, just because it's in Detroit, because it's $50,000, I'm going to buy it because it's cheap. Because it's all about location. And that's the same thing with like coins. Price is location. So where is it? Just because it's low, right, and it's cheap, doesn't mean that it is a good buying opportunity. So I don't know if that's a good analogy. That's one of the analogies that I always use because price is also location. All right, so look at Chainlink. So Chainlink, I've been following. I just started following. It looks okay. I am not ready to buy in right now, but if it gets close to the 26 cent level right here, which is a major support here, right, and it bounces back up, I would probably be looking to enter a seed position. Look at BitShares. BitShares is something I am currently in right now. For me, it looks pretty good. It bounced off of 19 cents, which is major support, right, in my opinion. So it doesn't really have that far to go. That's really what I like about it because of the risk-reward ratio. I did put in a small seed position, and so far it has been okay. Not great, but it has been okay. Because I think I am break-even on this one. So I hope we get back up to 24 cents, and then after that, maybe 28 cents, up over here. But I do like how it did range around major support for a long time, and it came back up and it's holding pretty steady. So let's look at IX. So IX here on a daily, look at this, right? You can see it. I entered in here long. It's just been going sideways, but it did bounce off of support here at 81 cents and $1.30, and on a short-term scale, it looks kind of ugly. I think I might have gotten in a little bit too early, but you just don't know with some of these smaller coins, right? So because of that, we'll see where it goes. I guess I was making a little bit of money so far, but it looks like it's basing. This is going to be the low here. If it does go further down, I don't think it'll go more down than 133. I'm hoping it gets back up to 183 and then 260 in the future. So I might have bought it a little bit early, right? But in my opinion, it doesn't look great. So I don't know why I bought this. I think I just bought it off the bounce because I wanted to get into a few more coins. Because basically I wanted to diversify, right? And I picked a few of the things that looked pretty good. So let's look at why I did it here. Oh yeah. So what is that? 12 hour. 6. Oh yeah. Okay. So there it goes. I mean, that's why, when you look at a lot of charts like I do, you have to have a reason for why you go in. Because you look at different time frames. And then, so one of the things that I saw here was that recently it's been bouncing off of the 200 EMA right over here. So it bounced off here, bounced off here. So I thought it might bounce off over here, and then this might be a good opportunity to go a little bit long, right, if the market starts to rally. So hopefully you enjoyed our video. Thank you very much for watching. If you like our videos, please share it with your friends and other crypto traders. You can can also follow us on Twitter and on Telegram. If you have any questions, please ask away in the comment section below. We do a very good job of answering all of our comments and questions right away. Thank you again for watching, and see you in our next video.